Now I have a legal breakdown on the guilty verdict upending Trump world. This is the first White House aide serving during the 2020 election to be convicted.
Former Trump aide Peter Navarro has been found guilty on 2 counts of contempt of Congress after failing to comply with a subpoena from the January 6th Select Committee last year.
The verdict came out after about just 4 hours of deliberation and a trial that lasted only 2 days.
People like me, senior White House advisors, alter egos of the president, cannot be compelled to testify before Congress.
It's not like Peter Navarro wasn't willing to talk about the coup. He just wouldn't talk about it with one group of people, the January 6th committee.
That's right. Navarro was willing to talk, and under questioning, he did reveal new details about how he worked from inside the White House with Republicans in Congress to try to stage a long-shot coup. He and Steve Bannon memorably called it a sweep. They hope to combine lies, elector fraud, a congressional vote, and a long-shot assist from Vice President Pence to delay or refuse to count President-elect Biden's votes in 6 of the states he clearly won.
The remedy was for Vice President Pence, as the quarterback in the Green Bay sweep, to remand those votes back to the 6 battleground states.
Do you realize you are describing a coup?
No.
That was an interview there, our first with Mr. Navarro. The investigative heat kept rising, but he defended his effort to overthrow the election. He insisted it was legal and could have worked. And he was subpoenaed over those remarks. Unlike most witnesses, though, he refused to engage with Congress at all, claiming a privilege without evidence that he had one, which we also discussed at the time. If you say all those things out here, why risk a legal battle or going to jail to refuse to discuss them with the committee under oath?
Because I have a loyalty to the Constitution and a loyalty to the president. It's not my privilege to waive. Executive privilege and the related concept of testimonial immunity for senior White House officials. Executive privilege, it goes back to George Washington. What is being attacked here is executive privilege in a very unique, in my view, fanciful and absurd way.
Executive privilege does exist. Your problem, sir, is it doesn't exist for you yet because Donald Trump doesn't have your back. You say you're standing tall and going to the mat. You're clearly demonstrating. Let me finish, sir. Now, that is what happens in journalism. We were discussing that point back and forth. Ultimately, Navarro lost in court so badly the judge would not allow him to even argue privilege at trial because there wasn't evidence that Trump invoked it for him. Today, Trump is making some noise online about Navarro's conviction, but he still would not say that he invokes privilege for his now convicted aide. Mr. Navarro awaits sentencing. In a similar case, Steve Bannon got 4 months in federal prison. These convictions of these Trump aides with White House experience could rattle others who thought government service or some kind of privilege might get them off the hook. Navarro himself did seem initially shocked that the government he helped run would now treat him like any other citizen.
They put me in handcuffs, they bring me here, they put me in leg irons, they stick me in a cell.
Now this is why Mr. Navarro's saga is larger than him or his personal case or his style. One, it affirms a precedent that witnesses must comply or face real punishment, including prison. Two, it shows very clearly government officials are not above the law. Indeed, several are bracing for trials of their own. Defendant Trump will be tried in the same courthouse with the same precedents and the same pool of judges who have now convicted or overseen trials that convicted Bannon and Navarro. And three, Navarro was convicted for stonewalling probes into a coup where facts are still coming in, where Jack Smith is still hearing witnesses. Now, in Mr. Navarro's second interview on this program, we also pressed him on efforts to abuse power to overthrow President-elect Biden's win.
To have the battleground states challenge the results, that would trigger 24 hours of hearings. Mike Pence's job at that point was to take 10 days and go back and give the state legislatures, who really are the ones who have the power to determine whether an election is fraudulent, to give them a second look.
Those details were key because they reinforced the line from that plot all the way inside the Trump White House. And I can tell you, having followed this for a long time, when Mr. Navarro first spoke out, there was not as much evidence that tied over to the White House. Those plots involved fraud, which is a chargeable crime. You heard him say about a second look there. There was no legal path for a second look or anything like that after the Electoral College finalized the results for President-elect Biden. So we've been tracking these plots you see up there. Several of them are now indicted. Now, one thing Navarro has in common with other coup plotters, the stubborn resistance to telling investigators what they did under oath, well, that is under scrutiny now, too. Long before people like Eastman and Meadows were indicted in Georgia, the plotters were pleading the fifth rather than telling the truth. That's that criminal exposure I showed you. These plots ran for weeks before January 6th. For a long time, they were not indicted, and it wasn't clear exactly whether there would be accountability. And these people were very clearly either defying the truth, like Bannon Navarro, or pleading the fifth, which is still helping legally stonewall getting all the facts. Now, I noted 3 points in this saga. Here is a fourth and final tonight. These Trump aides talked about their supposed principles and the privilege I just showed you. That was why they said they refused to testify. But here's something that I wanted to share with you tonight. We didn't get to this deeply in the breaking news last night. They said privilege. They said principle. And then they folded. Both defendant Meadows and now convict Navarro have testified in open court just within the last 2 weeks for the first time ever. How about that? It obviously shreds their claims, their supposed principle, their supposed privilege that they could not testify at all. It shows the power and the speed of these indictments and these cases we've been covering, and it shows something else that goes beyond their guilt or innocence, or however you feel about them. It shows that when you actually apply the rule of law and justice to all, suddenly a lot more people start following some rules and even telling the truth under oath in open court. Whether that's bad news for the beneficiary of their failed coup, defendant Donald Trump, only time will tell.